What's up gamers, Dreamcastguy here, talking today about Torchlight 3, because this is a game that I've been extremely curious about. I've been reading a bunch of developer notes, I've been looking at beta footage for the last couple months, kinda just seeing how this game would shape up. I'm somebody that definitely loves things like Diablo and dungeon crawlers, and I'm definitely somebody that's really into Torchlight 1 and 2, so this seemed like an easy good time. They randomly dropped this onto Steam Early Access over the weekend, and I put a bunch of hours into it. And unfortunately, today I'm here to tell you why you should not buy it. Now, the major issue at the heart of this, before we start breaking down all the goods and bads, is the fact that this is a sequel that is essentially a cell phone game that has been thrown onto computers. That might seem harsh. Perhaps you're going to go to the comments and be like, Dreamcastguy, this is early access. You can't be too mad at it. Well, here's the thing. This cost $30, and it is so completely unfinished. It is just such a cobbled together, lazy seeming game that the previous games are still so much better than. The big thing here is that since I've been reading the developer notes and looking at all the updates and stuff, I know for a fact that this was originally going to be a free-to-play thing, a thing that had a bunch of like microtransactions and loot crates instead of an upfront cost. But at the last minute, they've attempted to try and change this into a full-blown experience, and it's just not very good. Now let's see what this game is. In case you've never tried one of these, like a Torchlight style game, these are action adventures. The idea behind it is that you get together with a bunch of friends, you make your own character, and then over time you slowly level up, get new skills, and get some giant weapons to try and slowly save the world. They're really surprisingly addictive because they're just so simplistic. A lot of times it's nice to just go around and mindlessly blow up monsters and see cool unlockables and feel yourself getting stronger in small degrees. I always like that essence of, I feel like it's important to try and find that next treasure chest or see that next talent point. But in Torchlight 3, they've kind of whittled down everything that made these style of games fun in the first place. But let's begin by talking about the biggest issue, which is the fact that this game is online only and the servers are complete trash. In just my first 10 hours of playing this, I was disconnected over 40 times. And honestly, it's so annoying because it just kept happening back to back to back. Sometimes I would try and join a party and the game would crash. Occasionally I'd be turning in a quest and then suddenly the entire servers just completely collapse. And the worst part about this isn't just having to log back in, it's a lot of times that when you manage to get disconnected, the world resets around you. That means that, say supposedly that you're at the bottom of a dungeon, you're about to fight a boss and you're ready for that next huge encounter when suddenly you get a lag spike and you're disconnected. Well, this makes you get automatically teleported back to town when you log back in. So that means you need to fight all the way back to the entrance of the dungeon, clear the entire thing out a second time, and keep in mind that the dungeons are randomized, which means you're gonna have to try and find your way through these huge labyrinths for a second time, and then once you get down there, you need to defeat the boss again. It is so incredibly frustrating because in a normal game, there are technical issues. I mean, in pretty much any game, let's just kind of face the facts. Video games are magic. The fact that they can even work when they have so many millions of lines of code, occasionally you're going to get a hard crash or some sort of little issues. My problem is that this game just keeps crashing back to back to back. You have no idea when you're going to be able to play the game or when it just manages to completely break. Now, what's really frustrating about this, and the thing that just definitely drove me the most insane, is that the servers kept breaking in different ways. Like, for an hour and a half today, for a full 90 minutes, quests stopped working. Yes, you heard me correctly. Every single quest for the thousands and thousands of people that were online completely just blocked. Everybody had their entire quest log completely emptied out. Some people got stuck in the tutorial area area. They couldn't even leave it because they couldn't turn in quests. And what was annoying me is that I was in the middle of trying to clear a place out. Every time I was trying to pick up any of the things I needed to turn in, they would not register. My character was essentially broken for nearly 2 hours because the servers were unable to update the information. Now, some of this stuff I would definitely be able to forgive. It's early access. I've played a lot of different early access games, and sometimes these are a little bit of shattered masterpieces. You know, I've definitely played games that were early access or betas that were really polished but had their problems. My main issue with this, though, is the fact that even when you do get it to work, the game is incredibly paper thin. Now, I do like the action. I do think that the controls, the way we unleash our special abilities, when we're out there and just enjoying the combat, the fights are still fun. This does, at the end of the day, it does still have the essence of Torchlight, and that's why I think that I still have some hope for this game despite the fact that it has such massive failings. It is still Torchlight. The problem is that there is absolutely no depth. I mean, I'm still completely shocked about what this game is, even after having played it for so many hours. Now, in Torchlight 2, just as an example of a previous game, there was a lot of ways to customize your character, from being able to pick up different gear, obviously specializing your talent points to give you skills that you wanted to be weaker and stronger, but also you could actually go into your specific stats and increase whether you want to have more health, more armor, or more damage. It made it where as you adventured and as you leveled up, you really felt like you were making your own custom hero. It felt like you were putting yourself into this world-saving adventure. They have removed all of that. I am still just completely stunned, but in this game, they've removed stat points. It seems like they have completely removed the fact that there used to be like specific rules to the gear, which means anything you find on the ground can instantly be used. And the weirdest thing is, they removed pretty much all of the talent trees. There are now only 14 skills per character total. This is it. And a lot of them kind of downright suck. So it meant that if you're playing this game, there is no longer a way to essentially tinker with your own mechanics. You have pretty much one way to play. If you're playing as an archer, well, you better pick up the multi-shot skills and just spam it endlessly. Oh, you want to be like a magic person? Well, you better get the singular spell that manages to work. They took the depth that made Torchlight special in the first place and completely cut it out. And this right here is more than anything what makes it feel like a cell phone game. It's because a lot of times mobile titles, they need to be very paper thin because a lot of players are only going to be logging in for 5 or 10 minutes a day. They don't want to have crazy amounts of depth and, you know, all sorts of things that need to be focused on. You don't want to have stat sheets and stuff because the idea behind it is you just tap and play. But if I'm sitting down at my computer and I'm wanting to have a nice big adventure with my pals, I want that depth. I want to be encouraged to play the world and experience every piece of it. Torchlight as a series has always managed to be something that feels like almost a spiritual successor to Diablo. It feels like a new way to try and have fun and make your hero and kind of go on your own style of adventure within their universe. Whereas Torchlight 3, this is so appallingly bad. Even when I managed to stay connected, even when I was actually getting the game to function at least to a small degree, I could hardly care about it. And this doesn't even go into the fact that there's weird server issues, like the fact that there is only one mega server. There's not like broken down by different parts of the world, which means that when I was playing and I would try and encounter other players and I wanted to team up to do a quest, there's a good chance that they wouldn't speak English. There's people spamming in Russian or Chinese. Now, I have no problem with people speaking other languages, but typically what you do is you section people out to make sure that every player you encounter you can have a connection with. You can talk to them, you can make friends or put them on your friends list. And here, a lot of times, even if I had a question, it was very difficult to get an answer because I had no idea if I was even going to be able to talk to people. it just blows my mind. But I do want to say that despite the piles of issues and how many times I saw the loading screen again and again and again, I remain cautiously optimistic. The big thing we have to realize here is that Torchlight, this series is now owned by a totally different team. The original developers who made Torchlight 1 and 2, they've left the company. This is basically like an all-new team that's trying to do something that's completely new, which is why the aesthetic, the nature of the experience, it's just managed to be so altered. But I still remain hopeful because the core of it, the heart of Torchlight, it still manages to beat. I'm still kind of thinking about the fact that since this is early access, we're probably not going to see Torchlight 3 get a full release for maybe a year from now, and I guess I'm still sitting here and thinking they have time to try and improve this, to come out with patches, to come out with updates to make it where these classes don't feel so ridiculously dumbed down. But until they manage to improve this, do not buy it. Even if you're somebody who is a mega fan of Torchlight 1 and 2, do not pick this up. It is absolutely not worth the cost. And I say this as somebody who just recently, like this week, I randomly beat Torchlight 2 again. These games are still fantastic. They've aged so perfectly. Go back and play the original games because they're there, they still look good, they still play good, they're still just as great as when they came out all those years ago. Whereas Torchlight 3, hopefully it manages to be at least entertaining in 2021. But what do you think? Have you gotten a chance to check out any of the gameplay? Go over to like Twitch or something and see some people streaming it because, you know, hopefully it can catch your eye in 6 or 8 months. But as of now, definitely do not pick it up. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. This has just been an off-the-cuff video to try and get some of the frustration out because I am genuinely upset about the fact that this game could have been just so big and great and they decided to release this instead. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, you know, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.